In the next few minutes, you will be confronted with the most forbidden, psychologically brutal, yet ultimately liberating truths ever drawn from human suffering. This is not a mere history lesson. It is a brutal examination of the female soul, not in a sterile lab, but in the icy hell of the Soviet Gulag, where extreme starvation, betrayal, and isolation served as a merciless acid, eroding all social pretenses to expose the raw, unvarnished essence of loyalty and betrayal. The men who survived this machine of death carried with them a secret, a terrifyingly consistent pattern of female behavior that defies every fairy tale we've been told. This is the Solzhenitsyn Secret, and grasping it offers a form of intellectual and emotional armor against the silent, gentle gulag of modern relationships. For centuries, philosophers have debated the nature of women, love, and loyalty from their oak-paneled studies and sunlit Athenian forums. They crafted elegant theories, beautiful in their abstraction, yet ultimately useless when faced with real, raw, life-and-death crises. Their laboratory was the mind. Our laboratory, the one we are about to enter, was built by the NKVD. Its test subjects were millions of men, condemned for a word, a look, a joke, torn from their families and thrown into a meat grinder of ice, hunger, and despair. And the primary variable in this horrific experiment? The women they left behind, wives, lovers, mothers, those who held their memories, the anchors to their past lives. What these men discovered, through a pain so profound it can barely be articulated, was the unbreakable strength of love and loss, was a grim taxonomy of the female psyche under extreme pressure. They delineated the precise boundaries of conditional love and revealed the startling biological drives that can override a lifetime of affection in a single instant. This understanding was earned through blood, frostbite, and shattered spirits. It is the ultimate red pill, not forged in internet forums, but in the permafrost of Kolyma. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the master chronicler of this suffering, did more than merely record the brutality of the state. In his monumental works, especially the Gulag Archipelago and One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, he provided a detailed, unwavering account of this vast, unintended sociological experiment. He documented the letters that never arrived, the divorce papers that did, the stories whispered on frozen bunks long after lights out. He gave us the data. Our job is to interpret it, to look beyond the shock and horror and uncover the enduring, brutal truths. This isn't about misogyny. It's about recognizing patterns on a large, historical scale. It's about understanding the mechanics of the human heart, so you are never caught off guard by them. The advantage of this knowledge is a cold, unflinching clarity that grants freedom. It allows you to see the world as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. It marks the end of naive illusions and the start of genuine, sovereign strength. Now imagine a specific moment, a case carved into the icy memory of the archipelago. Picture a man named Yevgeny, a gifted young engineer from Leningrad. His crime was simply being too talented, too promising, a potential threat to a petty party official. One night, the knock on the door came, and with it, the arrest. His world narrows to the confines of a Black Maria van. His only comfort, his link to humanity, is the image of his wife, Anya, her smile, the way she'd wave from their apartment window. Processed, and sentenced to 10 years of corrective labor for espionage, a charge so absurd it's almost laughable, yet deadly. He is transported for weeks in a suffocating, filth-ridden railroad car to a camp in Vorkuta, beyond the Arctic Circle. His existence becomes a relentless calculation of calories, each day measured by the minimal sustenance he receives. He receives 500 grams of bread each day. He fulfills the norm of chopping wood or mining coal, only 300 grams if he fails. Men die from a splinter, a cough, or simply from lying down in the snow and refusing to get up. During his first year, Yevgeny survives on two things: bread and hope. Hope is embodied by Anya. He writes letters whenever he is allowed, on rare scraps of paper. He pours his soul into every word, speaking of their past, their future, his unwavering love. He reassures her he is innocent, strong, and that he will return. He waits anxiously for a reply, for any sign that he still exists beyond these walls. Months go by, and nothing comes. His weakened mind, ravaged by hunger, begins to imagine horrors. Perhaps she is dead. Perhaps she is imprisoned herself. This dread is a poison more deadly than the cold. Then, after 14 months, a letter arrives. It's not the thick, heartfelt package he had hoped for. Instead, it's thin and official. With trembling, frost-bitten fingers, he tears it open. It's not from Anya. It's from the local Soviet court in Leningrad. It is a divorce notice, filed by her, citing his conviction and exile as reasons. Enclosed is a brief, handwritten note. "Yevgeny, forgive me. This is too hard. I need to focus on my life now. Do not try to contact me again. I have remarried. Signed, Anya." The shock hits him not as an emotion, but as a physical blow, a boot to the chest. His breath escapes in a rush. The world, already dull and grey, fades to black and white. The last pillar of his resistance shatters into dust. That night, he forgoes his bread ration, giving it to someone else. He stares at the barracks ceiling, and the will to fight, to endure the unbearable, simply vanishes. He has been killed, not by a guard's bullet, but by a few lines of ink on a page. His body remains for a few more months, a hollowed-out shell, until a minor pneumonia, something stronger men could fight off, quietly claims him. This story is not unique. Solzhenitsyn documents thousands of Yevgenys. He writes, the wife of a prisoner faced an immediate choice: abandon her husband or accept ruin. How many could summon such heroism? 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000. This is the first law of the Solzhenitsyn Secret. The likelihood of abandonment decreases as the social and material costs of loyalty rise. Love isn't limitless, it's a currency. When its value drops sharply, most people liquidate their holdings. Why? Is it mere cruelty, weakness, or simply survival instinct? Solzhenitsyn and the sociologists examining this phenomenon suggest something deeper, something rooted in biology and evolution. Women serve as the carriers of life, with their primary evolutionary drive being survival and ensuring the well-being of their offspring. They are inherently hypergamous, instinctively seeking the best available provider and protector. A man's worth is fundamentally connected to his social standing, his resources, and his capacity to project strength and security. In a single moment, the state deprived Yevgeny of all these essential aspects. He was no longer a brilliant engineer, a provider, or a protector. He was a Zeke, a convict, a non-person, a social pariah, a genetic dead end. Associating with him risked bringing ruin upon herself and any future children. Her love, once genuine, was conditional on his status. When that status was stripped away, most could not sustain their feelings. The abandonment wasn't necessarily malicious. It was often a brutal, pragmatic act of evolutionary self-preservation. She wasn't betraying him. She was saving herself. Recognizing this cold biological calculus is the first step toward removing the emotional sting of betrayal. You are not being betrayed for who you are. You are being discarded for what you have or have not become in the brutal marketplace of survival. But the story does not end with the Yevgenis. There was another, far rarer breed of woman, the exception that proves the rule. Solzhenitsyn called them the Zek wives or the Decembrists' wives, recalling the noble women who followed their exiled husbands to Siberia after the failed 1825 revolt. These women defied the odds. They not only remained loyal, but they actively fought back. They abandoned their comfortable lives, careers and social status, moving to grim, remote towns near the camps just to be closer. For years, they endured endless lines to deliver scant food packages, potatoes, a lump of sugar, a piece of sausage, that often meant the difference between life and death for their loved ones. They became adept at navigating bureaucracy, tirelessly writing appeals, pestering officials, refusing to be silenced. Their loyalty was not passive, but a fierce, active form of resistance. One story that exemplifies this is that of Natalia Rysutovskaya, Solzhenitsyn's first wife. Their relationship was a turbulent roller coaster, reflecting these very themes. After his arrest in 1945, she initially refused to divorce him. She was a university student, with her entire future ahead. The pressure was overwhelming. Still, she maintained correspondence, sending what she could. But as years passed with no resolution, the strain broke her resolve. In 1949, overwhelmed by the relentless demands of the state and society, she finally divorced him. This was a devastating blow to Solzhenitsyn while he was in the camps. Yet, in a remarkable twist of the usual story, when he was sent into internal exile in 1953, hope was expressed through a letter, a woman, a system of justice, and the promise of future reunion. This external hope was a delicate thread, and when severed, it left a man bleeding emotionally. The survivors learned to eradicate that fragile hope, performing a psychological surgery on themselves to remove the cancerous craving for external salvation. In its stead, they nurtured a different, much more resilient form of hope, one rooted within themselves, a quiet, icy hope rooted entirely in their own control. Their hope wasn't that rescue was coming, but that they could survive the next minute, the next hour, the next strike of the hammer. Their world shrank from a looming, overwhelming sentence of 10 years to a small, manageable battle of the next 5 minutes. This intense focus on the present, on absolute mastery over their immediate surroundings, is a power accessible to any man, anywhere. The man, anxiously fixated on his wife's quiet, dismissive dinner, is bleeding from a wound of external validation. The survivor's mindset asks, can you control her disrespect? No. Can you control your reaction to it? Absolutely. Can you control your next action, your next word, your next breath? Without question, this is the domain of the sovereign man. His hope isn't that the world will be kind to him, but that he will be strong enough to face the world. Consider Dmitri's story, a historian imprisoned for ideological deviation. He opened the letter from his fiancée, a woman he had loved since university, informing him that she had married a high-ranking officer in the very NKVD that had arrested him. The betrayal cut deep, a cruel masterpiece. For 2 days, Dmitri was paralyzed, unable to move or think. On the 3rd day, during the exhausting march to the work site, something shifted. He crafted a story, a reframe so vast it altered his entire perception. He thought, "She has not betrayed me. She has simply revealed her true self to me. The state, by arresting me, did not take my life. It gave me a gift. It revealed the truth of the woman I loved before I built a life with her, before I had children. They had done me a service. This was not copium. It was alchemy. He was transforming the lead of betrayal into the gold of clarity." From that day on, Dmitri viewed his imprisonment not as punishment, but as a brutal university. His subject was human nature. His professors were the guards, the informers, and the betrayed men surrounding him. His fiancée was not a villain in his story. She was a vital lesson plan. The ability to transform catastrophe into education is the mark of an unbreakable mind. The modern man who is betrayed, cheated on, or divorced must perform this same alchemy. The question is not, why did she do this to me? But what is this teaching me about the world and myself? This internal fortress was built brick by brick through rituals of unbreakable discipline. In a world crafted to reduce men to mere animals, the survivors clung to rituals of humanity that served no practical purpose other than to affirm their own sovereignty. Solzhenitsyn described men who, after enduring a grueling 12-hour day of back-breaking work in 40 degrees, would carefully pick lice from their shirts, not because it would eliminate them, as they would return within hours, but because it was an act of order imposed on chaos. They recited memorized poetry, solved complex math problems in their minds, or taught each other new languages, holding on to fragments of their dignity amid the brutality. This was not merely a hobby, it was an act of resistance. Reciting every stanza of Pushkin on a frozen bunk was like firing a bullet back at the state. It was a declaration: you may control my body, but my mind remains free. This deliberate, seemingly trivial discipline is the training ground for sovereignty. The modern man must find his own equivalent, whether it's the daily workout when exhausted, reading a challenging book instead of scrolling, or making your bed with care. These are your lice-picking rituals. They are small, daily affirmations that affirm you are the master of your own self. They strengthen the muscle of self-respect, ensuring that when external validation is withdrawn, your foundation remains unshaken. Yet the most profound change was the shift in purpose. The man who arrived at the camp carried a purpose rooted in his previous life, being a good husband, a reliable provider, returning to his family. That purpose was shattered by Anya's letter. The survivor discovered a new purpose, one entirely immune to external influences. His purpose shifted to safeguarding his own integrity, protecting his inner self from the corrupting influence around him. For some, it became a mission of documentation, becoming living archives, memorizing names, dates, crimes, determined to bear witness someday. Solzhenitsyn himself began composing and memorizing what would become the Gulag archipelago while still a prisoner, using matchsticks to help him remember thousands of lines. His goal was no longer to reunite with an old life. It was to reveal a truth to the world. This mission was so vast, so vital, it made his personal suffering seem insignificant. His hunger, cold, and betrayal were just data points in a vast, terrible story he was meant to tell. This is the ultimate reframe. Your pain is not about you. It's fuel for your mission. For the modern man, your mission cannot be a woman or a relationship. These are things that can be taken away. Your mission must be something so deeply yours that its success or failure depends solely on you. Building a business, mastering a craft, creating a work of art, achieving a physical transformation, or providing for your children. These are pursuits rooted in unwavering commitment. This differs from a relationship with a wife, whose affection is conditional. A child's need is unconditional. A wife's is not. When your mission is rooted in something so immutable, her withdrawal of affection becomes a distraction, a minor irritation like a fly buzzing at the window of a cathedral you are building. It doesn't halt the construction. She can choose whether to be part of your mission or not. Her loyalty provides valuable reinforcement, but her betrayal does not constitute a critical, structural failure. You are the architect, and the mission is your blueprint. You are the primary laborer, while she is a subcontractor whose services you may retain or release depending on her performance and alignment with the project's goals. This may sound cold, and it is. It is the cold of the Arctic, yet it is also the only way to build something that endures. The men who emerged from the camps were often unrecognizable to those who had known them before. They were quieter, changed by the process. Their eyes carried a depth that unsettled others. Having witnessed the worst of the world, they had shed all fear of it. They understood the true cost of everything, especially love. They were not incapable of love. In fact, many discovered a richer, more profound ability to connect precisely because they held no illusions. Their love was no longer a desperate, grasping need. It was a conscious, deliberate gift, given from a place of complete abundance, with no expectation of anything in return. Because they required nothing from the other, their love became genuinely free. This is the ultimate paradoxical gift of the Solzhenitsyn Secret. By embracing the harsh truth of conditional loyalty, you liberate yourself to experience connection without the bonds of need. You can value a woman's love for what it truly is, a beautiful, fleeting, conditional gift, without insisting it be anything more. You may cherish the loyalty of a Decemberist wife if you find one, but you will not be shattered by the betrayal of an Anya. Your life beyond the wire presents a different challenge. The dangers aren't guns or hunger, but comfort and quiet despair. Betrayal doesn't arrive in a formal letter. It shows up in a text, in indifference, in a lawyer's note. The core principles of survival remain the same. Build your inner fortress. Shift your hope from her approval to your purpose. Enforce discipline through daily routines. View pain as a lesson. Your worth isn't defined by her gaze, but is shaped by your actions every single day. The Gulag survivors gazed into the depths of darkness and discovered a light that could never be snuffed out. You must find that same light within the cozy shadows of the modern world. The wire isn't steel, it's woven from expectations, fairy tales, and the desire to be loved by others more than by your own true purpose. Cut through it. Step forward. Your mission is waiting.